can already tell you that this is going to be one of those days. I have an outline for the show. I actually do. It's right up there. But as things have moved so quickly that it's almost impossible to keep up with. In fact, last night I was talking with the Milsurp writer, Mike, and I just got to the point where I just said, I've had enough. I can't do this anymore tonight. I turned off my phone, which is something I never do. I have very elderly parents, kids around the country. I turned my phone off. I don't know. It's one of those days, isn't it? So I have, as I said, an outline. I was going to talk history and implications of things about this Ukrainian war that has now become a war. It's no longer a threat. It's no longer a question. And as many of us believed all along, it never was going to be. It was always going to be this outright invasion. There are so many historical parallels, particularly to 1914, that it's almost scary how inevitable this was. And yet, at the same time, how many people were hopeful, just like they were in July of 1914, hopeful that this can be avoided. We can keep talking. I found myself watching the United Nations Security Council last night. It's something I wouldn't normally do, but, you know, wars don't start every day either. And it was remarkable because on one screen over here, I had the Security Council. On that screen over there, I had the current news ticker, you know, what's going on. And it was obvious that a full-scale invasion was happening. And yet on the Security Council, they were talking about, we have not reached the end of diplomacy yet. We're not done talking yet. And when they finally, an hour later, got to the Ukrainian ambassador, he actually said, I have a speech, I have a statement to read, but as of an hour ago, it's pretty much pointless. And he asked some pointed questions of the Russian ambassador that went unanswered and, not surprisingly, were basically ignored. What are you going to do? So where are we? What do we got? Well, as you know, Ukraine has been invaded by Russia. Now, look, I am not the guy to do blow-by-blow analysis of what's happening. I'm a historian. I look at things differently than the news does. The news is going to tell you what's happening, and all I can say to you is believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Because, as someone pointed out this morning on social media, this idea of just, retweeting everything I hear because it popped up and I'm excited about it, is going to lead to problems. It's going to lead to rumor. It's going to lead to mistakes. I mean, you don't know if it's verified or not. You have no idea. So repeating everything you hear on social media is probably a bad idea. I will tell you that. As I said, I'm not the guy to go to for blow-by-blow coverage of the war. When this whole thing is said and done, then we'll have a lot of analysis to do. It's what Mike said to me last night as we were commiserating. He said, when this is over, we will have a lot to think about, a lot to talk about, and a lot of lessons to relearn is where we will pick up the ball and continue on. The war has started. The question now becomes, what next? What happens now? Now that the Russians have rolled their tanks in. I keep calling them the Soviets. I'm sorry. I realize that that's technically incorrect. I get it. But you know that Vladimir Putin was a KGB guy, right? He worked under Andropov when Andropov made the jump from the KGB, which had hitherto to that point not been a full member of the Politburo. And he made the jump to the Politburo and then to the General Secretary of the Communist Party, became the leader of the Soviet Union, one of the last leaders of the Soviet Union. Putin was right there with him. You know that. Putin, is a firm believer in what was the Soviet. If you listened to his speech the other night, read his article, he's got a fascination with the Soviet Union, so much so, and I didn't know this until yesterday when I was looking at some things. He had the Soviet hockey team, Russian hockey team, a few weeks ago, wear Soviet uniforms, CCCP uniforms. So he may not be necessarily a communist. He may be more of a hardline Stalinist if you played the old game called Kremlin, but he wants the Soviet Union back. So I don't feel bad about calling him the Soviets. I just don't. He made it clear that he is going to do what he wants to do, and these sanction threats don't seem to have much effect on him. I mean, if sanction works, why aren't they working? I mean, theoretically, if you sanction somebody beforehand, wouldn't that cause them to think twice? And that deterrence didn't work. So we are left with, where are we going now? I don't know. I can't get inside Putin's head. I don't know what his thinking is. I know he looks around and he sees weakness. I know that for a fact. You can't even argue with me. You leftists and Democrats are going to, I can already hear your emails. I mean, Stephen King and others tweeting last night about how powerful Biden has been in this whole situation. You're kidding yourself, and you know you're kidding yourself, and you telling me that you're kidding yourself isn't helping your cause any. We have shown great weakness. We have been no different than Great Britain in 1939 at Munich. We have been no different than the Western powers in 1914, in July of 1914. We have shown grave weakness, and grave weakness invites action. And just like the Germans created the word D-Day is false flag. I hate that term, but just like they created a provocation in both 1914 and in 1939, Putin did the same thing. And here we are. Russia reports this morning that they have taken airfields near Kiev. Ukraine says that they've shot down multiple Soviet aircraft and taken prisoners. I saw a picture, and I can't find it now, but I did see a picture of an alleged Russian prisoner of war that they had captured. But who knows if it's true or not? Who knows what to believe? Who knows whether this stuff is accurate? We won't know until long after this is over, and then only if Russia loses. Because believe me, if they win, they're gonna cover that up. As the news moves very quickly, who you believe is up to you. Our government wants you to believe them. Our government wants to tell you that we're defending freedom. And defending freedom comes with a cost. I'm not sure how I feel about being told that by this administration. The same administration that, as others have pointed out, wanted to fire people because they didn't get vaccinated. The same administration that supports a Canadian government that's seizing, taking, which we have a Fifth Amendment that says they can't do that, people's bank accounts based on their political views. We have a government that's fortifying Washington, D.C. again because some trucks might drive through. Block traffic. Oh, my God. I lived in Washington, D.C. in my younger days. Believe me, trucks aren't going to be blocking the traffic. I literally, where I worked, my office, was literally 11 miles from our divisional headquarters in downtown Washington, D.C. If we had a 9 a.m. meeting, we had to leave at 6, or we would not make it. Traffic is not that big of a deal in Washington. It's normal. There's a reason why people use the underground. And anyway, but we got to have the National Guard suited up just in case, because these truckers might be. And don't kid yourself. If you donate to them, you're going to hear about it too. That's the same government that's telling you that we have to defend the values of freedom in Ukraine. The same Ukraine that is so corrupt that we had to impeach a president over it after he was out of freaking office. No, I guess we impeached him on that one before he was in office, while he was in office. Remember that? And the same Ukraine that was so corrupt that it hired some guy's son. Who was that? I forget his name. Anyway, He had a no-show job, got a lot of money, spent it on crack. You know the guy I'm talking about. It's hard for me to get fired up about Ukraine. I mean, I get it. Vladimir Putin's a nut. He's a tyrannical communist. I understand that. I hate communism. Spent my whole life serving and fighting against communism. I understand that. But somehow or another, it's hard for me to get fired up by my government now begging me to support it when a week ago they were telling me that I was the bad guy, that I was the unpatriotic traitor, that I was somehow or another the guy that shouldn't be trusted, the guy that, actually served his country, unlike the president has done. I don't know what's going to happen. I know that the West has announced this morning, the United States has announced this morning, that we are going to put the strongest sanctions, air quote, ever unleashed. Those are their words. Ever unleashed. The strongest sanctions ever. I'm a historian, and I'm pretty sure that sanctions don't work, because if they worked, then they would work. It's like masks. If masks work, why aren't they working? If vaccines work, why aren't they working? Sanctions ain't going to work. Why? Because the slope is really slippery. And the reality is that Vladimir Putin is a freaking nut. He is crazy. He has in his own mind rationalized this, much as Hitler did, much as Kaiser Wilhelm did, much as Franz Joseph did, much as Jefferson Davis did, and Robert E. Lee did. They have rationalized in their mind their cause. And you're not going to change their mind. You're not going to change anything there. I know that Vladimir Putin is nuts. He's insane. But I also know that there is no universal call amongst Americans, and this is part of the problem the government's facing, or our government is facing right now, is that Americans aren't lining up because the posters out there of Lord Kitchener and Uncle Sam going, "We need you. Your country needs you." It's not going to work. You willing to go to war for Ukraine? You willing to go fight? See, this is my problem with this whole thing, and I was telling Mike this last night. I feel responsible for people that are in the military today. I helped recruit some of them. I talked them into them. I told them what a great deal it was, what a great job it is, how important it is. Some of those people today are looking at going to war. And I don't really care how good we are. And believe me, I think we are the best Navy in the world. I know we're stretched thin. I know there's questions, but I also know how we train. I know how we serve. I know who we are. I know that ship, USS Mustin, might be going into harm's way. She's fast. She's pretty. She's heavily armed. But in war, shit happens. I know my beloved USS Michigan might be going into war. I know she's still undergoing some refit stuff, but who knows how long this lasts. And other submarines will be going, if they haven't already. And we're going to put them in harm's way. And yes, we're good, but in war, shit happens. And the problem with war is that people die. People get killed. People get hurt. And when we're fighting some ethereal ideology 10,000 miles away from home, maybe we don't notice it as much. But when we're taking on Russia, it's going to be different. Are we willing to do that? Is Ukraine worth that? Is Ukraine worth what it's going to cost us? And I mean monetarily. Oil already at $100 a barrel. Gas prices are going to go up. Supply chain issues are going to go up. There are so many scenarios rosily sliding through my head that we have no clue. what we're getting into if we're not very, very careful. We're all thinking like July 28th, 1914. We're at the cafe having our coffee and our wine and our dinner, and we're talking about what could happen and what might happen and what will probably happen. And we're all optimistic. Oh, it'll be quick. It'll be simple. It ain't going to be. It's not going to be. And the most important thing that you need to take from all of this today, February 24th, 2022, as potentially the first full day of a European war that might engulf the entire world, is no matter what happens, no matter who wins, no matter how much cost is involved, there is absolute, positive, no possibility whatsoever. Follow me here. Listen to what I'm saying. There is no getting back to normal. This is the new world, folks. I hope we're ready for it.